if they connect and bloom, oh bloom. Showing if they connect and bloom.
Welcome to the Bloom Show, brought to you by New Bloom Solutions and the reinvented New Bloom Media. We're very excited about today to have Eduardo Letort, the president and owner of Hoja Verde, and also the president of the board for Expoflores. It's very important that we're doing this series, and this series is all about tariffs right now. And what are we doing? We're bringing on different experts and representation from each country that this is affecting, and also each sector that this is affecting. So for example, tomorrow we're having Kate Penn on, we're having Augusto Solanos on at a certain time, and as well we're having AFIA, which is formerly known as AFIF, coming onto the show to talk about how this is affecting importers, distributors, growers, and everybody involved. So do remember that this show is by the floral industry, for the floral industry. Its intention is to connect the entire industry in all sectors to information and valuable information. And I really encourage you to do the following. It's great that you're here and it's great that you're absorbing this information. But what good is this information if you keep it to yourself? Share this information with your customers and help spread the word, because an informed community is a united community. And we are all in this together. This is not just a flash in the pan and affecting some and others. It's affecting everyone in the long run. So let's have some empathy, and also let's have some mindset of collaboration and how we could all make this better for everybody involved. And in my belief, the way that we're doing it here at New Bloom Media is sharing information. So we're very thankful to have Eduardo Letort on the show today to share that information and what they're doing. And you will find we don't have all the answers yet. And that is an answer in itself. So without further ado, please allow me to bring on almost a regular to the show. Always Eduardo Letort is always a gentleman and always finds time for the show. So we want to thank him for that. So allow me to invite him onto the show to talk a little bit about tariffs and how it's affecting Ecuador and what's next.
Showing if they connect and bloom, oh bloom. Showing if they connect and bloom.
Hi, Eduardo. How are you again today?
Hi, Sahid. Nice meeting you again. It's always a pleasure being at your show.
You're always a gentleman. I reached out to you yesterday on a Sunday, and you said, yes, I'll be on. Tell me the time. So thank you for that. It shows your dedication to getting the word out, especially being a representative from Ecuador. So thank you so much, Eduardo, again. So just so that anybody that doesn't know, Eduardo Letort, the CEO of Hoja Verde and president of Expoflores. He's been a president for about 2 years now.
2 years now.
2 years now. So he's always coming onto the show to help give insight into what Ecuador is doing and how they're responding to these situations. So Eduardo, let's jump right in and ask, because again, this series is intended to be short and sweet, but as president of Expoflores, what are the main concerns Ecuadorian flower growers and yourself as a flower grower are having regarding the proposed, or at this point not proposed, U.S. tariffs?
Well, this came out of a sudden just a few days ago, so we are still digesting the information of the tariffs. As you know, it's implemented in most of the countries at least a minimum 10%. So all the flower producing countries are affected with 10%. In the case of Ecuador, we already had a 6.8% tariff, so this will come on top. So we are talking about 16.8%. But the baseline of all the flower industry imported to the state will come up 10%. From South America, at least, because of Europe, you have 20%.
20%.
So they will have a higher restriction there. So we are bringing up the cost floor to the consumer, and then Ecuador has a 6.8 on top of that. Of course, we are worried about that. I think that tariff from the flower producing countries will be, I think, distributed along the supply chain. Maybe produce a little bit the logistics and the importers and the consumer. I think at the end, if you if you add the tariff on the price of the flower, for the end consumer, maybe around 50 cents to $1 per bouquet, let's say for a 12 dozen stems, which doesn't sound much. If the supermarkets or the florists do not make a markup on the tariff, do you understand me? If they don't, from let's say a bouquet of $5 FOB price, they don't make a markup on the tariff. They just transfer the tariff directly to the consumer. We should look at maybe 15 cents to 80 cents per bouquet. So it shouldn't be a dramatic change in the business. But of course, there's a higher price in the market. I don't think we'll turn demand. Let's say demand was coming up in the next years. Maybe we'll reduce the speed of demand a little bit.
Okay.
But I don't think there's be something dramatic in the market.
So you don't think it's really going to tank demand? It's just going to kind of continue to go and maybe plateau, but a steady growth?
I think so. I mean, after COVID, before COVID, we thought that we were in a luxury industry, that products, I mean, any crisis will focus into other products, food, mainly, let's say, and not flowers. But COVID showed us something completely different, and flowers were as important as food. So these are resilient industry, and I think we will... demand will take a few days, weeks to level off, and then I think we'll still see this demand increase. There's always new products coming out of the flower industry, no? New kind of bouquets, new arrangements. It's a very dynamic industry, so that we are in.
And something we should remember, it's always good to remember where we've been to know where we're going, is in 2008, we were a resilient industry. We bounced back a lot quicker than most. So, because there are talks of recession, and this looks interesting, and the stock market took a hit. So we always bounce back, as you said, from history, right?
Yes.
Fantastic. And then are farms in Ecuador exploring or expanding into new markets like Europe, Asia, or Middle East in response to this uncertainty? Or is it going to stay normal and steady? Whatever.
It's very difficult to find new markets out of the southern when your natural market is the States. Ecuador exports about 55% of total export goes to the States. So it's already diversified somehow. Europe is very important. The Asia is opening up a little bit. China is opening up. But the States still remains our main market. So finding another replacement, and I don't think we need to find another replacement. I mean, we need to work with the government, the Ecuadorian government and the American government. A matter of fact, this evening there's a committee of high-level officials, ranking officials, including Alejandro Martinez, executive president of Expoflores. They are going to the States. They have a meeting in the States. So talks are already starting to take place. As you know, the president of Ecuador, Daniel Noboa, he has very close ties with the Trump administration. I mean, last weekend he was at Mar-a-Lago, I think is his personal...
Mar-a-Lago, yes.
Mar-a-Lago, so they had 2 hours. I mean, he was the only 3 presidents in the world were invited to his president... how you call possession?
Inauguration.
So I mean, there's a very close ties there, and I think the Ecuadorian government has to polish some tariffs in some places of our export, and then maybe we can reach what they call a reciprocity agreement with the States. Ecuador is in our trade relationship with the States. Ecuador has the States has superávit. That means there's a benefit in the trade with the States. Okay. If we include petroleum, if we take out the petroleum, there's of course a trade benefit towards Ecuador, but in the general trade, there's a benefit towards the States. But there's like 2-3 points that are affecting the tariffs at the moment that we don't see a big issue on them. So there will be I think that it will be quite easy to negotiate them between the U.S. government.
So then you're seeing opportunities of this changing. So this is not, and something you told me and very authentically, you said, Sahid, I don't have all the answers. So with that, we do assume that there may be changes as well. This is not stuck in stone.
I don't think so. It's not good for the U.S. government at the end. What I'm placing in the shoes of the Trump administration, and I understand why the tariffs were in place, because they want to level off the commercial trade in the world, and I think that's a good idea, of course. And we Ecuador is a partner of the state, so we are going to level our taxes. There's also quite a lot of investment, of American investment here in Ecuador. There's a few companies, more than a couple of companies that have important American investment, and our product also complements with local production from California to make arrangements. So we don't compete face to face. I mean, we integrate. We are complementary. So. Yeah. I think that the Trump administration will look at it in a positive way.
Thank you for that. And we've covered a couple of the questions already in the conversation, so I'm skipping some questions. But one question is, what can Expoflores do to navigate this? And I guess you're answering it. Alejandro Martinez is on the way to the U.S. So what else has Expoflores done to help support your growers?
I mean, we've been working, I don't know, in the last 4 or 5 years, try to implement to reduce our tariffs, because remember, it was the ATPDA, I think was the name in English, that we had zero tariffs for roses, and then that finished, that program was over, and then we went up to 6.8. So we have been working with the government, with the Biden administration, trying to get into a commercial agreement. Then it was also what we call IDEA. It was the Caribbean Act that we were also trying to get Ecuador into that agreement. So we'll reduce our tariffs. So we've been working with that. We have invested a lot of money also in lobbying our position. So there's a lot of contacts in between the Ecuadorian flower industry, Expoflores, and also with the help of different American associations that, as you say, AFIF and other ones that are working together to get tariffs down.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. And then a final question is, what message would you like to share with the floral community in North America and Ecuador to help them understand the impact and the importance of collaboration?
First, I would say let's think of this as a short-term problem that will bring us long-term solutions. Ask the supply chain that will not put the margin on top of the tariff. So try to pass the margin directly to the consumer, or along the supply chain at least, not to put margin on the tariffs, because that will triplicate maybe the amount that the consumer will take. And it's not right to make an earning on a tariff. I mean, we make an earning on the raw material, on the import product. We should pass the tariff directly to the consumer if is that the case. Also, there's something good is that the cost of transport, the freight will, what I understand, what I know, I had a meeting a couple of days ago with an important cargo agency, is that the transport tend to decrease. The cost of the rate of tariffs are decreasing a little bit, because there's more cargo planes being delivered by the main industries like Airbus and Boeing, because they had a lag until last year. There was a lack of cargo planes. Now they are on time, so there's more planes, more load available. China is reducing its exports also, so there's less demand of cargo planes for this Asian market. So I think we'll see some decline on air freight that may compensate the tariffs in the midterm.
Well said, well said. And as you said, it's a short term. And I do like what you said about not adding a margin on top of the tariff. And I just had Joe Don, which has experience with supermarkets, and he was basically saying the same to keep it in another line item. Don't
Mhm.
tie it in, keep it another line item so that the end buyer could understand what is the tariff and keep an eye on it, especially for supermarkets. So that does
Yeah.
make a lot of sense.
And the price increase at the end, it shouldn't be more than half a dollar. That's what I think for a dozen roses. So there's nothing dramatic. Once the water settle
Yeah.
down, we'll see with a little bit more practical eyes the situation at the moment. But I understand what the government is doing, the American government is doing, of course, and we are allies of with the American government and the American industry of flowers, and we work together, and that's the most important thing, to find solutions and keep working, not focusing on right now in the problem right now, but in the long term. That's what my
Well,
message could be.
well said. Well said, Eduardo. And it's a positive light, which is always refreshing to see. And because we could always make negatives out of these situations, but seeing it in a positive light of it's temporary, we're going to grow through it, and come out better at the end. So, Eduardo, like always, como siempre, thank you so much for your time, and sharing your information so freely with our industry, with our show. I really appreciate your time today.
Always a pleasure to be with you and being able to share our thoughts with you, to your customers and to your friends.
Thank you so much, Eduardo. I appreciate you. We'll stay in touch and wishing you all the best.
Thank you.
Take
have
care.
a
Thank
have
you,
a good
sir.
week. Bye
You
bye.
too. Bye bye. So I love this interview, and the reason being is Eduardo is always authentic and such a gentleman, but it is looking at the positives of this, right? And thinking about it in that perspective, that an assumption is that it's only going to be 50 cents to a dollar. That's manageable. So as long as we don't add a margin to it, which then it'll increase that and then increase it again. That those are very intelligent and very wise tips and advice he's giving. And again, we ask you to share this, right? Because if you're a bouquet maker, now share it with someone else, share it with your farm, because this is very valuable information from a gentleman that is speaking from the trenches, understands the industry, and also understands how it could affect his business and bottom line. So it's very well said from Eduardo Letort, and I really appreciate him being on here. And thank you as well for joining us. Tomorrow, let's see here, Augusto Solano will be joining us from Expoflores on the Bloom Show tomorrow at 9 a.m. EST. Then we're going to have Rodrigo and Christine Bolt, and pardon my voice, Christine Bolt on the show tomorrow as well at 8 p.m. And then we're gonna have Kate Penn talking about the florist aspect. So she'll be covering the florist aspect and what they're doing to support. And Rodrigo will be talking, and Christine Bolt, about distribution, because there are also some thoughts that this actually might tie up and create a little bit of a bottleneck with airports and paperwork. Those are thoughts. I'm not sure of that, and I look forward to hearing from them. And then Augusto Solano will always obviously speak from the Colombian aspect, as they've never really had a tariff, and now they have a 10% tariff. So please join us, chime in, ask questions, press the subscribe key button, alert key as well, and don't forget, share. It's great for you to have this information, but most importantly, it's important to share with your community, with your industry, with your sector, so that we're all well informed and we all make good decisions and not panic. Let's hang in there, just like Eduardo said, and let's make the best of it, as we always get through things like this as an industry. So again, thank you so much for joining, and thank you again to Eduardo. Truly appreciate you. Take care. Oh, and stream.
The blue, showing a fake and let them